My dad came that night, he put his hand over my mouth and he just raped me. And I got pregnant by him.
On day one,
yes,
that your father comes back, day one.
Every day. There was no break in between. From 8 to 14, it just continued. I was more angry at my mother.
What has faith played as a role in your life?
Now I speak more life versus death. And then I met my husband and it was just, I didn't know how to be intimate with him.
Do you forgive your dad? First point, a warning on all the New York noises you're going to hear. So we can't control that. We're in New York, so you're gonna hear sirens, noise, cars, bikes.
Yes.
Understand that. And Alicia, I just wanted to thank you.
Yes.
It was a very raw conversation.
Yes.
She's very brave. She's very courageous.
Yes.
To just sit in this chair in front of these cameras and share such a traumatic story. But I know, and I think you know,
Yeah.
how many humans need to hear this. So whether you've gone through something similar or you know somebody, it's very important to share this story because I do think it's going to help a lot of people. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you
hope you
so
enjoyed
much.
it.
I did. I loved your questions and I love how deep you got because it showed me a different perspective on how others can see my story. So I thank you for that. And I honor you for your awesome deep questions.
Thank you.
Yes.
So always subscribe. It gives us a bigger sense of responsibility to get you raw stories like Alicia's. And that's our promise to you. Find Alicia, support her, push her to do a book.
Yes.
And if you need somebody who understands you, you can always connect with her. So
Yes.
yeah, and share this conversation with any human being who needs it.
Yes.
Hope you enjoy it. Okay, Alicia.
Yes.
So first question is very simple.
Okay.
Actually, it's simple, but not so simple.
Okay.
It's how are you really doing?
This time, it's challenging, but I am, if I could honestly say, I feel extremely blessed.
Why blessed?
I think because where I am today, the Alicia today versus the Alicia, let's say 10 years ago, where my mind was back then, I'm a complete different person now. As far as how much I've grown from my past. Yeah, so as far as like my thoughts and how I think about myself, it's completely different. So I would say blessed because now I speak more life versus death, like I did 10 years ago. So yeah.
So what's your story?
Well, for the better part, when from 5 years old to 14, I was sexually abused and then raped by my father at 14. I actually didn't meet my dad until I was 5 years old. My parents, they came to the United States because they wanted to, you know, live out the American dream. And I am 5 of 6 kids. I'm actually a twin. And my parents came to the United States and my mom left when I was just about 6 months old. So my grandmother took over the role of, you know, taking care of my mom's kids. And when I first met my dad, you know, I just thought he was like a distant relative. I didn't really know who he was. And my grandmother, though she was preparing to tell us when they were coming, I just thought it was like a distant uncle or whoever. But that night, when I first met him, I woke up to him at the edge of my bed, and he was actually molesting me. And as a 5-year-old, you know, coming from Guatemala, that's where I'm originally from, I found myself just in a frozen state. I didn't really know what to do because I went from running around my country, like around the house. My country is usually like, I come from a tropical weather area, and I'm running around in my underwear just like a little kid, didn't really care about much. And that night I found myself, like I said, just not knowing what to do. It almost felt like shame and guilt. And as a child, we don't really feel that. All I felt was happiness before. And the next morning, I found myself putting layers and layers of clothing on just to really protect myself. And I'm thinking as a kid, like, how do I know to protect myself? So it's almost like a human instinct that I wanted to protect myself from this predator or abuser. And that completely changed the trajectory of my life. We moved to the United States, so from the bed of 5 to about 8 years old, I was molested every day. There was no break in between. It was literally every night. My sisters and I, when we first moved to the US, we shared a bed, and it was against the wall, and we always used to fight for the edge of the bed, because the edge of the bed meant that one of us was going to get molested that night. So as a kid, I was like, I don't really want to fight with my siblings anymore, so let me just pretty much take the edge of the bed, and I guess I'll get the blunt of everything. And, you know, it came to the point where just fear took over me. A lot of people always asked me, you know, how come you didn't say anything as a kid? And, you know, I grew up in the 80s, so everything was just taboo. Like in the family, we kept a lot of secrets. We were not allowed to say anything. We were just a happy family outside of the house. But inside the house, it was literally every day, it was hell. And from, I believe, at 8 years old, actually, I tried to tell my mom, because my grandmother caught my dad trying to do it to my older sister. And my grandmother, you know, that raised us, and she saw me since a baby, since I was born. She was really upset because my mother dropped the charges. Like, she called the police that day, and she dropped the charges that night. And, you know, I thought I was free. I said, oh my God, you know, he went to jail. This is it. This is the last of this. But, you know, my mom dropped the charges. And after that, the abuse got worse. The molestation went from molesting to like groping now to actually trying to, you know, full on rape me at 8 years old. But I believe that because my body was so small, he couldn't. So from 8 to 14, it just continued. And at 14 years old, he actually raped me. And I got pregnant by him. And, you know, as a teenager, I'm just thinking like, okay, how do I deal with this, and how do I deal with this in school? And the reason why I found out I was pregnant, because the school that I went to, another young woman was pregnant. And I asked her, I was like, how do you know you're pregnant? And she's like, I missed my period. And I was like, wow, okay. So that's how I started to find out that I was, because I missed my period. And then I found out that I was pregnant because I went to ask the same girl how, and she's like, you have to take a pregnancy test. So I did. And, you know, I told my dad, and I'm not sure what I didn't go to a state of mind to say I'm going to tell everybody. I think it's because I was fearful from him since I was 5 years old. I was so scared of him. Even the first time when he started molesting me, or even he would grope me or rape me, he would tell me, if you tell anybody, I will kill you. Every day he would tell me that, so I was super scared. And so I went to him and I said, you know, I'm pregnant. And, you know, of course, it was a very hard abuse that night. He beat me up pretty bad. And, you know, he said, it's because you're sleeping with boys. And I wasn't really talking to boys because I was so scared of my dad. So then, you know, he took me to an abortion clinic, and he forced me to have an abortion. And the story that he told everybody there is that I was easy and that I slept around and I got pregnant by a boy. So, you know, even laying on at the clinic, doing the abortion, I wanted to have this child. I did not want to abort it. I wanted to be the mother that my mother couldn't be. I wanted to keep it, but I was forced into aborting it. And after that, I just went into a state of deep depression, but I was even scared to even be depressed because I wasn't allowed to really, answer back or say anything or rebel against my dad. So even after the abortion, my dad just went about our lives like it was just nothing. Like, okay, he really believed the lie that, okay, I got her, another boy got her pregnant and I didn't do anything, So at 14 years old, after that happened, a year after, our parents actually left us when we were 15 years old. And my sisters and I, we became homeless. So we were living on like motels for about 6 months. Our parents said, well, I really want nothing to do with you. I don't want to raise you anymore. And, my sisters and I, we lived motel to motel, and I had like 3 jobs. So for the better of 15 to about 36, I've always worked at least 2 to 3 jobs just to support myself. But unfortunately, because yes, I got free from what happened to me and I felt free, but I still felt like I was in a cage that, like you're in a prison, but the door is open and you don't know how to come out. So I still felt like I was so much very in that prison with chains. And so from 15 to 36, I became a drug addict. I became an alcoholic. In my 20s, I was very heavy into drugs, and I got into a car accident in my 20s, so that kind of woke me up to not do drugs anymore. But then at 25 years old, I moved to South Beach, Florida. That was probably one of the worst and best decisions that I think I did, because I was a very heavy alcoholic. South Beach is a party life, and it's everyday party. You can party till like 11 in the morning, and I had to drown out those thoughts, drown out the thoughts of what happened to me from 5 to 14, drown out the thoughts that I aborted a child that I wanted. I did not have any peace in my mind because every day was a constant flashback of what happened to me as a child. I literally just, everywhere I went, I saw my father's face everywhere. If I heard someone even remotely laugh like my dad, it was just so traumatic for me. I didn't know what to do. So at 25, I moved to Miami in South Beach. And again, I continued partying. I don't even know how I kept a job, to be honest with you, because I would go to work. Literally, I was an alcoholic. And I remember now, actually before I moved to Miami, I was living with my sister, and my dad and my mom came to visit us. And I didn't know, and she didn't tell me. And, I was still partying that time, so I came home around 4 in the morning. And I didn't know that my parents were sleeping in the living room to where we were staying. And I hear my dad's voice. Mind you, I haven't seen him since they left us, since we were 14. Here I am, 22. And he gets up, and he's like, just back when we were younger, and he just starts yelling and starts just trying to come at me and trying to, again, like, abuse me, like, physically. And he's like, what kind of hours are these? Who do you think you are? When I tell you, I blacked out. I don't remember anything. All I remember is that I woke up with a knife in my hand, and I wanted to kill him because I'm like, I'm 22 years old. You're trying to come into my adult life now, trying to still tell me what to do and control me. So my sister had to grab the knife and really like slap me so I can wake up. And, they ended up leaving. And I told my sister, I'm like, how could you do that? Like, how could you just bring them back into our lives, after what they did? Because I grew super cold. My heart grew super cold. I didn't want anything to do with my parents, especially with my mother, because I couldn't believe that she would allow this to happen to us. And, throughout my life, I think the way I became super strong is because I saw her weakness. I saw how much she got abused by my dad, and she was also going through a lot of things that my dad put her through, but I saw her weakness, and I think her weakness made me strong, because I always said, I will never be like my mom. I will never be like her. Even if I dated a guy and somehow I felt like he was gonna probably abuse me or cheat on me, I would leave that relationship like not even in a month or two if we were together, because I said I don't want to be or have to do anything to be like my mother. But fast forward again, when I moved to Miami, so from 25 to 36, I became like an alcoholic. I partied every day, again, just to drown the thoughts of what happened to me. How I survived is literally just the grace of God, because I every night I literally would drink myself to sleep, because those thoughts just plagued me every day. So at 36 years old, I met my husband. He was my Uber driver in Miami. And he told me when I first met him in the car, he said, you're going to be my wife. And I'm like, what? Who said that? I don't know who told you that lie. I'm like, dude, I don't know you. But, you know, we exchanged Instagram stories, and, you know, within a week, he was trying to really find out where I was, where I worked. And I'm like, this guy's like stalking me. What's going on? But it was good because, you know, I asked if I could, I did say a prayer. I asked if I could get someone funny, because in Miami, nobody knows how to laugh. So everything is so dry. Nobody wants to laugh. Everybody's all about the way they look. And I want to laugh, and I want joy in my life. So, you know, here I am in this car in the Uber, and he's a professional comedian, and he's making me laugh literally for the whole ride. And I think it was like a 10-minute ride. And then at the end, he tells me that we're going to get married and I'm his wife. And I'm like, okay, dude, whatever you say. I just want to get out of this car really fast. So a week later, we meet up, and we're like children running around the streets of Miami. Like, we've known each other forever, you know? So I think that when I first met him, he started speaking life into me, when a lot of people throughout my life spoke nothing but death, especially my family. You know, so there is like so much power in the tongue. You know, people can either speak life into you or death. And when my family was speaking death, I think there was a little bit of hope for me to say, okay, I know I can find that joy back that I had when I was little, before everything happened to me. Because oddly enough, like I said earlier, I lived in a tropical area. And then when I went to Miami, it reminded me of Guatemala. So that's the reason why I moved there. And, you know, I thought, okay, I have joy and I'm going to be good in this place. But when I found my husband, and he's making me laugh, and every day, and when I finally told him my story, because I've never told anybody my story. I think I told a friend maybe in middle school, but they were so shocked they didn't really know what to do with my story. And of course, I told my mom when I was 8, but she didn't really believe me. And the person that I thought that was supposed to protect me did not. It actually got worse. And when I told him my story, he literally said, and we met 7 years ago, he's like, you're going to speak to millions of women. And because death was being spoken to me so much in my whole life, I didn't believe that. I didn't believe that I was worthy. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, okay, thanks, you know, but the years just went by, and literally finally 2 years ago, I started really sharing my story, because I saw the depth of it. I saw the weight of it. I didn't really know how much weight it had until I actually told somebody else, and they actually listened, and they actually were like, wow, your story is powerful. And, you know, my husband did help me a lot with a lot of my healing. You know, he would speak life into me. We would, you know, read books. We would, you know, do a lot of things together. And I think that because he loved me so much throughout the years, that love really healed my inner child. He gave me the love that I wanted, the love from my dad, which is like odd to say, right? Because I wanted a father to love me, but, you know, my husband was like, no, I'm going to love you. I'm going to show you what love is. And he did, and he's still doing that till this day, and he's making me laugh. So, you know, I'm very fortunate that I have someone that believes in me and allows me to see who I am, the woman that I am. And, you know, I've spoken and I shared my testimony, my story before. But when I first shared it, I shared it after my husband. I shared it to 20 women that were human trafficked. And, you know, their story is, you know, similar because they go through this. Obviously, they got abducted, kidnapped, but, you know, they were going through the same thing daily. So when I shared my story and they see how happy I am and how I'm glowing, you know, I literally had so many of them crying on me, on my clothes, and I had so many tears. And I said, okay, this is powerful. I'm meant to do this. I'm meant to share my story so I can start now speaking life into women. I can start telling them who they are and how they can heal, you know, and it's a constant process. It's an everyday process. And I want to be real with them, you know, because I feel like I've been through a lot of events that do human trafficking because I'm part of that now. And a lot of people are mainly just like, okay, let's just get them out. They got saved. Let them get through it and they should be good now. But I want to be raw and real because I think that in order for us to really see our future, we have to face our past. We can't just leave our past in the back and just say, oh, we're good now and it's never going to come back up. It's literally like the biggest elephant in the room that you have to address. You can't just be like, oh, my past is right there, I'm good. No, you have to face it in order to move forward. And when I realized that I had to face what happened to me and I had to face that all these, you know, atrocities that happened to me, I had to face them and I had to begin my healing journey. Because I feel like a lot of it had to do with me forgiving my father. And I know a lot of people would be like, I would never. But I had to release him in order for me to move forward, in order for me to heal. And then when I saw those young girls and crying, now I really realized my purpose. Now I really realized the plan of over my life to be like, wow, I can talk to these women and be really raw and real with them. Obviously very carefully, because I remember even in my younger years, when I really wanted to share with people, I felt ashamed. So I want to be able to help them to like lift the shame off, lift that weight that they're not meant to carry, because, you know, it's fear will literally paralyze you, you know, and when they feel paralyzed, I want them to be able to feel like that fear doesn't belong to you, that shame doesn't belong to you. You can really talk about it, and I'm here to listen. And either we can walk this together, or, you know, you could talk to someone else about it, but I want to be raw and real with them, because a lot of people are just like, oh, I hear your story is powerful, great, but we have to walk this journey alongside with each other, you know. So when I saw them cry, it really just motivated me, and I know now, okay, I know what my purpose is, and I know what I want to do in life now. And my biggest dream is to open up a school for girls, you know, and women who've been human trafficked or abused or any form of abuse, or just walk them through it, or at least have people that have been through the same thing. So, because we can kind of speak the same language, you know what I mean? I feel like people who've been through such a traumatic experience, we can understand each other, and there's like a comfort level there. You know what I mean? Because yes, it's encouraging to go through a therapist, but I think I'd much rather speak to someone that's been through what I've been through, to keep it just real and just, you know, okay, we can get through this journey together.
Okay, so I want to rewind, because I feel there's so many stops. I wanted to hear your story fully.
Yes.
I don't think, of course, you told me fully, but you give me a nice synopsis, right?
Yes.
So I want to rewind and go to you through phases to understand more.
Yeah.
So your family leaves you, you're with your grandma until you're 5 years old.
Yes.
Your dad and mother show up.
Yes.
Until you are?
14.
14, then he leaves after 14?
Yeah, they left us, yes.
Okay. So on day one,
yes,
that your father comes back, day one.
Day one.
So you meet the stranger.
Yeah.
And that night he molests you?
Yes. Yes.
Like automatic, like it didn't even take a week?
No. Didn't even get to know him. It was that night. Yeah.
And when you say he molested me, is it touching or you're supposed to touch him? I'm sorry for the question, but
no.
I'm
Yeah.
just trying to understand.
Yes, so the first night it was him touching me, and then it led to, my story is so deep, it led to later on when we moved to the United States, then it was me being forced to do some stuff to him. You know, a child shouldn't know what their father's private area looks like at such a young age. You know, so
I think at any age.
at any age, period. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But such a young age, at like 5, 6, 7, 8, I shouldn't know what you look like. You know.
I
so.
think, you know, also, Alicia, it's a very interesting research what it does to a child's brain if they're introduced to sex so early.
Yes.
Because they are not mentally mature to
Right.
even, and that's the scary thing about pornography or
Yes.
the internet, because kids are learning about sex probably too early for their brain development.
Exactly.
And they
yes.
don't understand what's happening in their body. Why are they getting excited maybe?
Right. Exactly.
Or why is a 60-year-old boy getting horny at that age and he doesn't
Exactly.
understand what that emotion is?
Right. Exactly.
You know,
Yes.
it's very, I think, bewildering or puzzling.
Yes, yes. And I completely agree, because I think that at that age, our brains are slowly developing. You know, I think we're meant to just see things that have like joy and excitement, because if you see a child, you put toys or you give them anything, they'll play with it all day. They don't care. They'll play with that toy for hours, you know, because they're actually wanting to really keep in that state of mind to, I just want to play all day. So when I was at that age, like I said, as my human instinct started kicking in, I wanted to protect myself. So that's even another study that's super important, because it's like, how as a child do I know to want to protect myself?
Which is wearing the layers
Wearing
of clothes.
layers and layers
By the
of
second
clothes.
day?
Yes, it was the second day when I'm normally running around in my underwear. When I tell you, in my country where I lived, it was 100 degrees. You know, we had a beach nearby. Our country has so many volcanoes, so our sand is black. It's beautiful. You got to visit one day. It's amazing. And so I'm running around in my underwear. I have pictures of my grandma. I'm like hanging towels, you know, because we hang the towels on the rack or clothes. And I'm helping her. And I went and literally putting about 10 layers over myself to protect myself.
I want to read some stats that I had written down. It's all researched. So I'll read and then you also tell me, like, build on it and say if you agree or not. So
Okay.
I have two pages. So according to the Rape, Abuse and Incest National Network, only 12% of survivors will report to the authorities and 60 to 80% will wait until adulthood before disclosing their experience.
Yes. Yes.
Do you agree with this?
I do agree. I started sharing my story with my husband at 36 years old. I'm 44 now. So.
And he's the first or second human that you told, right?
Exactly, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And more than 20% of children are sexually abused before the age of 8.
Yep. Yes, I was abused when I was 5 years old. Yes. So.
1 in 9 girls and 1 in 53 boys under the age of 18 experience sexual abuse or assault at the heels of an adult.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, at the hands of an adult.
Yes. Yes. Usually is a close friend
Or family.
or a family member.
Yeah.
Most likely it's a family
And this is
member.
the next one. Studies estimate that about 10 to 20% of girls and 5 to 15% of boys experience sexual abuse from family
Yes.
or
Yes.
close relatives at
Yes.
some point during childhood.
Yeah.
And this is the scary thing. Like, I have 2 boys,
Oh.
and you're very, maybe before we weren't aware or very educated, because we're similar age. I'm 43 now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So in the 80s, I don't think any of this was that shared.
No.
And people would make you sleep at your uncle's or cousin's house automatically because you, by default, you trust them.
Right. Exactly.
You don't realize that that might be the number one predator.
Right. Exactly.
He's taking the trust for granted.
Exactly. Yes. And 9 times out of 10, that's what it is. They'll take the trust, and your child was not protected mainly in the 80s and 90s. You know, a lot of kids are coming out now saying and sharing their stories to what happened to them. And those statistics stand true because even me at 5 years old, 8 years old, 14 years old, and me not even sharing until I'm 36 years old, it's because, you know, we grew up in a time where we couldn't share anything. You know, in school or at your house or your home, it was just everything was kept a secret, you know, and it makes you wonder because you're just like, as a kid, you kind of just put it to the side and said, this is just my life. But then, you know, now you're older and you're starting to realize, why didn't I share this sooner? Because I think that if I shared it sooner, I think my healing journey would have started earlier. But then at the same time, I'm like, everything comes in its own time. Everything has there's a reason why it's happening at that time, you know? So, but I like how you shared the statistics with me because it's proving even through me.
It's funny how I think everything I said, you agreed with.
Yeah, because it's literally my life, every phase of my life, you know?
So you said, since that day, every day you're being molested.
Every day.
And you and your one of your twin sister?
Yes, there's 4 of us.
Okay, and all of you had to go through this?
Yes.
Really?
I have an older sister, and she's about 7 years older than me, and she went through it first. Yes.
And did you share it with each other?
So that one night when my grandma caught my dad, that was the first time we all talked about it. Then after that was it.
So are you living in this, I'm just trying to really imagine the environment. Are you living in a household where there's a huge elephant in the room, but nobody's even addressing it?
Nobody wants to even address it. Nobody wants to talk about it, not even my dad, not even my brothers. And I have 2 older brothers. They didn't really want to talk about it.
Did they know?
They did, yes, they did, yeah. You know, I think it's because we had so much fear of my dad, all of us collectively. We're talking about even my mom, you know, my parents got married when my mom was 16, my dad was 17. You know, quickly my mom had her first kid when she was 18, which was my brother. And even talking to my mom, you realize, because you know, you read statistics now and you read a person's brain, a person's behavior. And I still believe now that my mom's still like thinking at 16 years old. I know that when I first met my husband and we started discovering that I literally was like a child because I never grew out of that phase. My brain almost like was just stuck there. It wasn't developed to adulthood. I think I mainly just had to survive every day after everything stopped, had to survive. And it was in the back of my mind. I put it in the back of my mind, and now I'm like, I gotta work, I gotta pay bills, I gotta move on with my life. But when I first met my husband, we discovered quickly that I literally was like 8 years old. You know, I thought like a child. There was even things in our marriage, you know, as far as intimacy, it was really hard for us, you know, because even so far as like 2 years ago, and about to be 44 in December, but like it was so hard for us to be intimate because I didn't know how to go about being intimate with him, you know, especially in a marriage that has so much love, and he actually wants to love me and be there for me, you know, not just use me for, you know, my body. He actually wanted to get to know my mind first before we got intimate. And even when we got intimate, it was hard for me. And now that I shared my story and I come across a lot of women, that's really all of their stories. It's super hard after being sexually abused and raped to become intimate even with your partner, because you're being reminded of what happened to you, you know, and you're trying not to think about those things, but they do come up like flashbacks because it was done every day. It wasn't like once or twice, or it happened to me one time. It was like every day, you know. So, but now, like I said earlier, I'm in a better place. You know, my husband just literally has just, the way I've been healing and my healing journey has been the love that we share for each other. And the more we discover on how we can help myself, you know, as a previous sexually abused child, to now who am I and what impact can I make in the world, and how can I help people by discovering like statistics and reading and really understanding the why this happened to me, you know what I mean? And how can I come out of it? Because we need to make sure, like I said, address it and then move forward, you know. But as far as my family members, they still to this day, they don't want to address the elephant in the room, you know, because I can understand how hard it could be for them. And, you know, I'm just glad that I'm able to, you know, address it and then walk out of that room and say, okay, I'm free now. I'm not no longer in chains, or I'm not longer in that cage where the door is open and I can walk out anytime. But fear allowed me to stay in there. But now I'm like, see you prison, I'm out in the world. Share my story.
Okay, I'm going back.
Yeah.
So 5 to 14, you're molested by your father
Yes.
and your siblings.
Yes.
At 14, your father rapes you.
Rapes me, yes.
What happened? What changed that suddenly he went?
You know, one of the things when I was a teenager that bothered me forever, my dad would always say that I looked like my mom. And, you know, that bothered me for such a long time. But I think my dad started seeing me because, you know, as a teenager, you start, you know, you're looking different. You're no longer looking like a child. You're, you know, becoming essentially a woman, right? And I believe that when I started growing into my body, my dad started seeing me differently. And that night I was in my bunk bed and he just came out. We slept at the bottom because we always fought for the bottom. And I said, you know what, because later on we got bunk beds, and I said, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna sleep at the bottom. And my dad came that night, he put his hand over my mouth and he just raped me. And I think that because I was growing into looking like a woman, I think that his mindset changed and he started looking at me as a woman versus a child.
And was it a one-time rape, or he kept doing it?
It was one time, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Which.
And that one time you got pregnant.
I did, yeah.
After you aborted, did he want to come to you again, or you were not interesting to him anymore?
No. I think after that happened, I think I became, you know how I tried to protect myself as a kid with clothes? That now I started becoming angry. And I remember one time he's coming, like he was in my face and I was in his face and I was like, hit me. And I wanted to like actually fight for the first time. Because after that, I mean, that was a forceful rape. It wasn't like, you know, and it's not like I was just laying there like I normally would. It was forceful and my mouth was being covered. So I think that it put something in my brain to be like, oh no, this is a fight or flight and I need to fight. And, you know, I had so many dreams my whole life to just even wanting to kill my father because of what he did. You know, I think that as a kid to teenager, before that happened, I was like, okay, I'll just lay here. He's abusing me. But when he raped me, it changed my mindset completely because it almost felt like I wanted to fight for my life now. And especially that I was forced to abort my child that I actually wanted. I didn't want to abort it. You know what I mean? I wanted to keep that child and I had dreams of raising it, you know? But I think after that, my heart definitely got hardened. I became harder and I wanted to just protect myself and my body. And but it was only a one-time thing and I wanted to fight. And then when the minute that I started to wanting to fight, they were like, oh, we're leaving. We don't want to take care of you guys anymore. So I think it was more like a protection for me because I think that if I would have stayed in there, maybe I would have killed him. But I think I was protected because they decided to leave. And I believe that that's when my dad probably saw, wow, I'm not sure, I can't really speak for him, but I can only assume that because it was so quick after it all happened, after my abortion, is literally 3 months later, they just were like, we don't want to be. My mom left first, and then my dad's like, well, your mom left. I'm not going to take care of you guys. So, yeah.
Were you, Alicia, angry at your elder brothers, your mother, that you're thinking, why aren't they at least stepping in and stopping this?
You know, I was not, oddly enough, I was not, because I was thinking they're going through what I'm going through. You know, I was more angry at my mother because the person that I felt like that was supposed to protect me didn't, you know, and actually that one time my grandma caught my sister and she called the police. My grandmother left after that because, you know, she was like, later on in my life, I found out, she's like, I can't take care of your children if you are letting this happen. I'm going to get up, I'm going to leave. And my grandma knew she couldn't take us with her, so she left. And when she left, I was even, you know, I went into a deeper depression because, you know, she was essentially my mom. She wasn't, I used to call her mom. I didn't call my mom, I called her mom. In fact, I called my mom by her first name. But I was more angry at her because I felt like she needed to protect me and she didn't, you know, and for the rest of my life, I was like, I don't ever want to be like her, you know.
Is your grandma still alive?
My grandma actually passed away last year and she was 97 years old. And I actually went to Guatemala last year and it was such a healing moment for me as well because my sister and I, we had a time where we spoke for over 4 hours. And, you know, I shared things that she didn't know and she shared things that I didn't know because so much was happening in our home that we never even were allowed to like talk to each other about it because my dad was so abusive. It was literally abuse every day or molestation every day. If we used to have lunch money that he would give us, if we lost even 10 cents of that, everything would set him off just to like hit us. So I think that we were so scared to even like talk about it to each other that we never really mentioned anything to each other. But now last year, again, it's a healing process still for me. I'm in a far better place where I was. But, you know, I think that when I sat down and I spoke to one of my sisters, you know, it was both healing for both of us because we shared some things that we really didn't know, you know, and I think it brought closure to us to really see, okay, we did go through this, but now we want to find a way to come out of it, you know.
Do you think you've come out of it?
Yes. You know, I think I've come out of it, but it's a healing process still every day because so much abuse was done to me and I literally just started realizing how bad it was at 36 years old, you know, and I started to realizing I'm harming myself like my dad was harming me, you know. I went into drugs, I went into alcohol. Obviously, I'm not blaming myself for that, right? But, you know, I realized that I was like, wow, I'm abusing myself. Obviously, it's not the same, but abuse is abuse. I'm abusing myself and I'm hurting myself, you know. So what am I really doing? What am I getting at in my life? You know, I'm like 36 years old. I'm living in South Beach and I'm just like, what am I doing? And then I met my husband and it was just completely different. And I feel like a lot of women feel like they can't get out of it, but you can, because what we typically do is I journal a lot and I read a lot, you know. My faith really helps me as well. And I know that I've come out of it, but obviously there's still things that want to bring me back to that mindset. But, you know, because I'm being loved every day, and even let's just say that love was taken away, I know now, okay, how I can move forward and how I can deal with this and continue to deal with this. Not deal with it in a way to be like, oh, I pushed it away like I did for so many years. No, really, you know, speak life into myself versus, like I said earlier, death. So, you know, that's the difference. And when I start speaking to women that are still in it or their mindset is still in it, I can tell them or advise them, hey, let's talk about it. Because I feel like when I speak about it and the more I speak about it, I feel like the more healing I'm getting. You know what I mean? Because like I said earlier, in order for you to move forward in your future and get out of it, you have to face your past. And a lot of us, we don't want to face it. We just want to be like,
It's
I don't
scary.
want to talk about it. It's so scary. But you know,
And
sometimes
I think that's how, you know, like you said, you're living in a household, and I can only imagine how many millions
yes.
of households have so many dark secrets, and everybody's acting like, it's kind of like I sometimes explain, like it's much easier to throw things under the rug, and the rug can be this big, but everybody's acting like there's nothing. They're like, that's fine.
It's fine.
This is the system. This is how we are. Everybody's
the rug
fine.
is stinky. Let's just put perfume on it. Let's put Febreze. We're good. No.
And it's crazy how this is all due to fear of acknowledgement.
Yes.
Or facing it.
Exactly. Yes.
Although if people start to understand that only by facing you conquer.
Exactly.
And that hump of the rug starts to get less and less and less, but you really have to kind of like face it.
You have to, and I think that once you realize, and this is one of the things that really helped me out, I'll be honest with you, I was not alone. I was not the only one who went through this. And when I started meeting more women that have gone through what I've been through, even much harder. I mean, I've met women who've been prostituted since they were 3 years old. And they got out of it, and they were human trafficked, and now they're speaking on to many women on stages. You're saying that, you know, this is what I did, how I came out of it. And when I found out that I didn't stand alone, I think that even gave me more strength to even keep talking about it. Because I think what it is, we need to bring more awareness to it. Because we need to encourage people to share and not to have that, like you said, fear of acknowledgement, to really share it, to say it's okay, to say that this is not okay.
You know, Alicia, it's, I don't know how many people know this, but one of the main reasons I started ABtalks is to make people feel they're not alone.
Oh, that's good.
Because I experienced it myself in my life at a much smaller scale.
Yes.
But I realized the power of it.
Right.
When you know that there's somebody somewhere that kind of gets you.
Yes.
There's a saying in Arabic, we say, اسأل مجرب ولا تسأل خبير. Ask a trier or an experienced person, not an expert.
Okay.
It's interesting.
I was just saying that earlier, you
Correct.
know.
So
I was telling you,
instead of sometimes going to a therapist, which I'm not, of course, against.
Well, of course,
I'm a big supporter of it.
Yes.
But it hits different.
It does.
When somebody has been there.
Yes.
And then you're like, not only me.
Right. Like I said, it truly helped me out, and I felt like it took the weight off my shoulders.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't stand alone. It's almost like you want to be like a warrior, right? When you start like want to get together with other women, and you feel so strong and empowered together, and then you find out, wow, I don't stand alone, you know, and it makes you feel stronger. It makes you want to lock arms more. And like you said, there is a comfort level there that I'd rather speak to someone that's been through it than someone that hasn't. And now talking to women who've been human trafficked, I come to realize they'd rather speak to someone that been through what they've been through versus someone that hasn't, because like I said, it's a comfort level. It's almost like, oh, you've been through what I've been through, so you understand. You know what I mean?
It's a interesting question, I think.
Yeah.
Jonathan, your husband.
Yes.
Did you change Alicia's software or mindset, and then you meet a Jonathan, or he came in the worst time, or one of them?
Oh, yeah, no, he came in the worst time.
So like a savior?
Like a savior, almost, yeah. Yeah, like a savior. He saved me. He really did. And I know, because I've shared my story before, and a lot of people are like, well, what if I don't get that? You know what I mean? Because... But
this is what I'm trying to say. Like, let's go back.
Yeah.
And Alicia, how old were you?
36.
When you met him?
Yes.
Okay, so Alicia, was there, maybe it's the first time we're gonna think with this on this together. Was there somewhere down your brain that you thought hope? Was there a brink of light, and then you get the savior? I kind of am touching on it from a, not manifestation point of view, but more of an attraction point of view.
Yeah.
Like, does a human who's going through anything have to have something switch in their brain, even if it's
Yes.
0.01%.
Right.
For that, it's like God is just waiting for you to believe,
Right.
and then
Yes.
He will
Right.
aid. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do
Or
actually.
was it like, I have zero hope, I'm hopeless, and then you get a savior?
You know, it was zero hopeless. I literally was an alcoholic in Miami, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna die a cat lady and a dog lady. That was literally what I said out of my mouth. Not lying to you. And then in 2016, going into 2017, I did say a prayer. I said, if you are real, send me someone to show me that you're real. Send me someone to show me. And I asked him, I said, send me someone that's gonna love me for me, because I knew how messed up my mind was, one, and I knew how much I've been through in my life. And I was literally thinking, no one's ever gonna love me because of what I've been through. So that was in December 2016. And then May 2017, here's this guy.
So it
He's
is
my Uber driver.
So there is this a switch.
It was
or
a switch for
hope.
me. It was a hope, because I literally thought, okay, I'm gonna die alone, cat lady, dog lady. Then I meet this guy and I'm like, oh wow, because it just felt so quick. I literally just said it. I just said that prayer in December. 6 months later, here's this guy and he's telling me I'm gonna be his wife, and I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, so there was definitely a little tiny dot of hope. Because
So you believe in law of attraction.
yes,
You kind of attracted Jonathan
Right.
to your life.
Yes,
Or you
yes.
asked God to bring it.
I asked God to bring him to me, and literally he brought him to me. I literally said, if you can send me someone that's gonna make me laugh. And he sent me a professional comedian. How is that?
That's
like, you know what I
crazy.
mean? And I said, show me if you're real. And he's like, okay, I got you. And then I was very specific with my prayer. I didn't really mean to, but he answered specifically.
I know you have faith. if
Yes,
I'm not-
yes.
What has faith played as a role in your life?
I think that, you know, again, like I said earlier, there's life and death in the tongue, and the faith that I believed has only spoken life into my life, you know. And every time I read or I pray, it has disciplined me to believe, okay, there is a God that cares for me, and you know, there is someone that actually loves me outside of my husband, because love is the one that heals everything. Love covers everything, you know. And I think that a lot of people seek love, and we all want love. We're all wanting love from a friend or from a father, mother, sister, brother, right? But when I really found this love, and then I found love in a human form, I think that was when my healings started. And then that's when I really saw, wow, there is hope. Wow, there is a God. There is someone that I can connect to, and there is a savior for me to help me. You know what I mean? And it's been, and when I said it too, and I said, I need you to show me. And everything has been shown to me for the past 7 years, for me to not even merely doubt, to be like, wow, okay, love doesn't exist. No, because I was ready to give up. But love does exist, and love covers a lot of anxiety, fear. You know, it brings so much joy, so much happiness. Am I like the happiest person right now? No, you know, we all go through trials and challenges, you know what I mean? But I think that because I believed in hope and I believed in love, that now is how I'm standing here today. Because it just takes also for someone to believe in you too, for you to believe in yourself. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I put all my belief in my husband, but my faith does help me a lot, and he does help me a lot with showing me how much he loves me and how much God loves us together.
Why do you think he loves you?
I think because he saw how much I suffered, and so he saw how much love I needed in my life, and also because he also wanted to be loved, because he went through abuse as well. You know, so because we have stepkids, I have stepkids with him, And I always said I never want to be like my mom, so I want to show them love like I wasn't shown love. And as a human, I know, okay, it does exist, it is there. And when my mind switched and I saw that there was hope and love, I was like, wow, I want to give that to everybody. And I feel like he feels the same way, because he saw so much suffering that I went through, that he's like, I want to love her through all of this. And believe me, it was super hard. We almost got divorced because I didn't know how to receive that love, because I was shown so much hate and so much abuse throughout my life. My mind couldn't comprehend why do you want to love me? Like, there's times where I would say, go get yourself a good girl who doesn't have any problems, you know, who never been through what I've been through, you know, I'm not worthy to be loved. But he would literally just keep coming back, you know, keep coming back. And I'm just like, wow. And he was like chasing me every day, and he's still chasing me till this day. And we've been together for 7 years. So I think that when a guy realizes the value of their wife and what they can do and how they can see them, because, you know, we could perceive people certain ways, but if you see the worthiness and the value in them, you'll definitely want to continue to work or kind of, you know, serve or kind of sacrifice for that person. And like, I'm not saying, you guys were talking earlier, competition, but it almost becomes like, how can we serve each other? And it could be something as small as like, okay, babe, you know, I washed the dishes, or I, you know, cleaned the house, or I did the laundry, or something that, let's say I put gas in your car. I'm really huge with that, you know, because I hate going to gas stations. So it could be something, a love language like that, but mainly he would serve me with getting, you know, I don't know, my pajamas, or helping me do little personal things that I like. And I feel like when he does that every day, it literally just takes away every thought that I had about myself, how I wasn't feeling worthy or what happened to me in my past. That love is so strong that it overcame any fear, any depression, any anxiety, or even feeling like my dad's gonna come after me, because I had that feeling for such a long time. But like I said, literally people would say love conquers everything, because it does. You know, and even to the person that, let's say, doesn't have that person that can love them, or even us, we could show so much love to a friend, to a family member, just a little bit of kindness, or just how can I serve my friend today? Maybe they're not feeling well. Maybe I can go to their house and cook for them. You know what I mean? So I think the act of serving can really show so much love to someone that really needs it, or even maybe a text. Hey, just think of you today. How were you? Because, you know, you really want to know. You want to listen to know, to see if that person's okay, because it's okay to check on your friend's mental and to see where they are, because a lot of us, even at my age, we don't want to share about our life. We're just like, oh, I'm good, I'm okay. But no, really, how are you? And I think that sometimes even a silent action, showing up to their house, hey, I just want to cook for you. Or hey, let's watch a movie on Netflix, I don't know. So just really being there for a friend goes a long way, because we don't know what people go through every day, you know? So I think that even if I didn't have my husband loving me, I think, and what I realized, and you know, we do that for everybody we know. Like, how can I serve you today?
So I have a question that I think, because there are two sides to this, right?
Right.
One side is the victim, which is you. And what you have to have it's a war, internal war, and you need to resolve it, and you need to heal, whether you win that war, whether you lose that war. That's a whole journey on its own.
Yeah.
Now you get to choose, you have another human in your marriage.
Right.
So then there's the partner side of it, because the partner is also taking the brunt of, we all have our baggage, but you're bringing your luggage, I bring my luggage, and suddenly we're like, can I deal with your luggage and can you deal with mine?
Right.
So there are two different sides. Something you said that was interesting, you said when Jonathan was in your life, it was very difficult to get intimate.
Yes.
And you said something that maybe I thought of but never focused on, which is because you've been a victim of rape and molestation, even if you're with a partner that now you love, making love to them or kissing them or anything might recycle
Yeah.
some traumatic,
Experiences.
similar experiences, but not so similar at the same time.
Right.
You know, attacker, lover.
Right.
But I don't know if the brain is differentiating.
Yes.
I don't know if you become disgusted. I don't know if your body locks up.
Yeah, so at the beginning of our marriage, even probably to like 2 years ago, my body would lock up a lot. I would freeze a lot. And the beautiful part is that my husband immediately recognized that, and he saw that. And he wanted to help me within that. So he would ask me a lot of like, how am I feeling in the moment? He would literally will stop being intimate and just like, no, we need to focus on this moment right now, and let's talk about how you're feeling. And that's why I said it's super important, even to the person that has a partner that's been raped or molested, to not really focus on the intimate part just yet, but really focus on like their mind and their thought process in the moment, because you can help that person out so much. You may think no, because you may be like, well, what if she doesn't want to talk about it and she runs away? No, we want to feel safe, because for the longest of time, we weren't feeling safe. And now we're in a place where we're like, okay, I am in a safe space, but I still have a thought that I'm not. But, you know, the person has to not thread carefully, but just kind of understand it, you know, kind of sacrifice themselves to be like, it's not about me, it's about this person. I recognize that this person has been through this, so let me help her through this part. And that's exactly what he did, you know. So I feel like if a lot of people realize that, and, you know, obviously some people were like, oh, I'll just send her to a therapist. Yes, I'm not against therapy, but a lot of it is we want that human interaction and that acknowledgement that, oh my God, yes, I did just freeze up. How can we talk about that? And I want to talk about it. And he allowed me to be open and vulnerable to talk about it. There's many times where we laid there on the bed and I just cried into his arms, and he's like, I love you. And he just held me tight, because that's what I needed. I needed someone to show me that they actually cared and that they actually want to find out, why am I freezing up? How can he help me out of that? You know, and I think by talking about it, he helped me so much, because I've held it inside for so long, you know, and it's like a jar that, you know, you pop it and it's like, boop, it makes that loud sound, right? That's how I wanted to be. I wanted to just be loud and I wanted to talk about it. But he gave me the opportunity to say, okay, I could be vulnerable with him and I could talk about it and I could really share what I'm going through in that moment. So my advice to everybody is always like, be vulnerable, get vulnerable. If you feel like you're safe with someone, feel comfortable in talking about how you feel in that moment. And understand to the other person that's like your partner, and you may have those things where it could be like attacker, like bringing you back with your dad or partner. Understand, like, if you're that partner, really get to know where they are in the moment and kind of put yourself to the side and say, okay, let me understand her right now. Or sometimes it can be a him. Like recently I've been coming across a lot of men that have been going through what I went through. Just heard a story recently, a guy, a stepmother, you know, she was doing the same thing and he got her pregnant. I was like, wow, our stories are so similar. But again, it goes back to, I don't stand alone, one. And two, I can be vulnerable and I could talk about it and I could actually be free to talk about it and be free to say, okay, I could speak on this now without that fear that I'm going to get hurt or someone's going to hurt me if I say something. You know,
Alicia, like while you're speaking, I'm also thinking how maybe true love seems to have a high level of selflessness,
yes,
more than selfishness.
Yes.
Meaning a typical or default partner
Right.
might get impatient and be like, you know what, fuck this. I'm not this patient.
Yes.
It's been years. You don't know how to be vulnerable. We're
Right.
not enjoying this. I have a sexual desire that's not being met.
Right.
I can't take it anymore. And I'm
Right.
not judging them.
No, of course
I'm
not.
saying it
Yeah,
can
it's a
be
natural-
very difficult probably for
Right.
either party.
Yes.
The woman is thinking, wow, I love this guy, but I'm losing the grasp of this love and he's
Yes.
gonna leave me. So
Yes.
now you have another abandonment issue.
Right.
And the husband in this case, or vice versa, can think, I swear I'm trying.
Yes.
It's just not fair to me. I can't anymore. 3-4 years, right?
Yeah.
So you're the second human that I've had on the show that I've witnessed a great level of sacrifice from both.
Yes.
Because I think also a woman in this scenario might feel really helpless, like I really want to, but I can't.
Right, exactly.
And if the man thinks, sorry, I've waited.
Right.
I have to move on.
Yeah.
I had a lady also in Untold Stories. She talked about having vaginismus, which is something I never knew.
Wow.
And it's a condition where the vagina locks because of trauma.
Yes.
And you can't even have sex.
Right.
So, and she was saying, like, she got married as a virgin. She's a Muslim lady. And her husband was so understanding for a long time. Until she realized it's actually a condition, she started to deal with it. He was also patient. He didn't leave her.
Yes.
And now they have kids and they're still together. So that was another witnessing of something more selfless than selfish.
Right. One of my favorite verses that I could talk about, it says, love is patient, love is kind. When people really realize that even love is sacrificial as well and selfless, like you said, when people really realize when you get into a marriage, is not just to be like, oh, we're married now, we're going to be happy, have kids. No, it's to really realize, okay, I have to put myself, I have to be selfless and I have to be able to help my partner. And when both parties are like that, I want people to realize that it's almost like a circle all around. There's no breaking that bond. There's no breaking that circle because we're both being selfless for each other. And I think we do unfortunately live in a selfish world. There's a lot of men right now, they're like, you better have gone to therapy. I can't put up with this, because they want like this perfect image wife that someone along the way gave him that false image that, oh, we could be a perfect family, we can have a perfect life. No, we're all like little kids trying to discover who we are. And we have to not get over, but have to deal with the trauma, if it was little, if it was even big, like mine or the woman that you spoke to. And I think that when we acknowledge, again, what we've been through or what your partner may have been through, and again, like I said, love is patient, love is kind, we have to stand true to that. When you're married, marriage is such a place that, you're going to go through different phases in your life. You can go through the first 5 years and then the next 10 years, but you're realizing, like, who am I when they changed, or who are they when I changed? And it's a phase, and it's not to say, oh, I give up, I'm done, let me go find the next one. No, you have to really fight for the love and really want to be selfless for that next person. And I feel like people don't even want to put the time in that anymore. And I love that you said that husband was like, he was patient, because when you realize, again, like I told you earlier, the value of your partner and the value of what they carry or who they can be outside of this trauma, it's amazing who you can, like when my husband tells me, it's amazing that I even survived this. It's amazing that I'm still here. You know what I mean? And I think that was another beacon of hope. To be like, wow, I'm still standing here to this day. I went through all of this and I'm still here. And I believe that when people realize, like, wow, you know what? If I could just love that person more than I love myself, I think that it would be so rewarding. You know what I mean? Because we do live in a selfish world, but if we are those people that keep talking about, there is that person out there that could be self-sacrificial for you, or maybe I could be that. And that's why I say even earlier with a friend or a brother or sister, because I think that we think so much about ourselves and what we could do versus what we could do for others. A little bit of kindness goes a long way for people, even if you smile to somebody. And they're like, wow.
The question is, how much shame do you go through when you go through something like that? Do you have body shame? Do you have just shame in general? Like you're, sorry for the word, I don't want to use it in an offensive way, but do you feel dirty?
Yes.
Do you feel like, and how do you deal with that? Because I know you have the immediate trauma and the immediate battle, but then even if your dad was out, like you said, you kept dreaming. Every voice that sounded or resembled you triggered something. And then maybe you resent love from a
Right.
good man also. Maybe a good guy comes to you and you're like,
Yes.
nope, nope,
Yeah.
nope. So how does a person, male or female, that, you know, but I'm asking you, when you get that shame, how do you resolve it?
You know, I think that, again, for myself, when I started seeing that weight of the shame wasn't my identity, it wasn't who I was. I think when I started realizing, like, you know what? Yes, I was a victim of this, but do I decide to stay being the victim? Do I decide to be like, that's who I was a raped and molested person? Or do I decide to come out of it and how I came out of it? And I keep saying it because love literally helped me heal. Love, my husband's love, and me speaking, or him speaking life over me, helped me feel like I was loved. All of us as humans, we require love. We want that human connection. We want someone to share some form of love with us. And I believe that when I first met my husband, I started saying things like you're saying, I felt dirty, I felt ashamed. And when he started saying, that's not who you are, this is who you are. This is your plan. This is your purpose. This is who you can be. You know what I mean? Because I think we get stuck in that victim mentality where, like, well, this happened to me, this happened to me. No, like, you can come out of it by just, like you said, resetting your mind to thinking, that's not who I am. Yes, that pain was inflicted upon me, but that's not who I am. I'm called to be this. I'm called to be this woman that walks in freedom, that no longer feels dirty, no longer feels ashamed, you know? And I believe that when my husband was starting speaking life into me, and then I actually started believing it, I think that's when my mindset changed. Because we all have a will to believe, am I gonna stay in that victim mentality, or am I gonna move forward thinking, this is who I'm meant to be. I'm meant to be, restored. I'm meant to can reset my mindset to think, wow, I can be this person. I can be a happy person. I can finally love, you know? And I think that when we speak life into each other, that really helps. I know it helped me.
You know what's something interesting that my best friend, once we were walking, and I was talking about old habits of mine.
Right.
And he looked at me and I said, I've had this bad habit for so long.
Right.
How, I don't know if I can ever change that habit. Let's call it 10-year habit, right?
Right.
And he said, Anas, that's just your self-image of yourself. So if we imagine ourselves like editable,
Yes.
so you say, you know what, Alicia, edit.
Right.
Victim? No, not so much victim. Not worthy of love. Actually, worthy a bit of
Yes.
love. Angry?
No.
Maybe not anymore. And
Right.
it's so funny. If you start to edit your description
Yes.
or your image of Alicia, of
Right.
yourself,
Exactly.
it's like somebody says, yeah, I forget a lot, what to do? Yeah,
Right.
of course you forget. That's what you're telling
Yeah.
yourself.
Exactly.
If you're saying, yeah, I'm not ever going to find
Right.
a better job or a better human in my life,
Right.
then of course you will not, because
Right, exactly.
if the salesperson doesn't believe it,
Right.
you're not
Why
going to
would
sell
I?
anything.
Exactly.
So it has to come from, I believe I deserve better.
Exactly, yes.
So that's, I think, when he kept giving you this affirmation,
Right.
maybe you were like, maybe I am
It is true.
worthy. Edit
Right.
slowly, and you
Slowly, let me write this down. Edit, you know what? I can be this way. Because, a lot of us, like you said, we can make a habit of things, right? And then we're like, oh man, how do I get rid of this?
It's me. The people
It's
say, this is me.
No, but you can, again, change your perspective, change your self-image, because a lot of us, we can beat ourselves down. And like, again, remember I said, there is so much power in our words and even our thoughts. If you're thinking, oh, I'm ugly, or I'm this, or I'm this, then you're gonna be that because that's what you're thinking. But if you start saying, no, you know what? I'm beautiful, I'm restored, I am clean, I'm made new, I'm no longer ashamed of who I am, you're gonna start believing in that. There was a kind of like a commercial or video I saw where on the left there was, I don't know if you've seen it, there's two plants. So people started coming up to one plant, they were talking bad to this plant, really bad, and then this plant, everybody was saying great things. And this plant was flourishing greatly, and then this plant right here was just slowly dying. So I think that we as human beings, we do that to ourselves because our thoughts, we can give it power, or we could just like negatively or positively.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Because
and it's proven.
It's proven. It's like,
and if you just think of it, our thoughts turn into emotions.
Right.
Emotions turn into, either if they're suppressed, you can get sick.
Right.
If they're not suppressed, they turn into an action.
Exactly.
So it's funny how the mind and the body work together.
Yes.
You know, it's like these people during COVID, they were like, oh, I'm going to get COVID, I need to be careful. And they're always so afraid of it, and they're the first ones who get it.
Exactly.
It's like they attracted it.
I'm telling you, it's like fear will paralyze you. My husband said one time, and you know, he got it, he says, fear is false evidence appearing real. Literally. Like it will appear like it's real, but it's all lies.
There's something similar that says anxiety is the conspiracy theories of your future.
Right.
Because you build all these, like, I'm going to fall, the plane is going to fall.
And then it's going to fall.
My point is you're building a conspiracy theory that's 99% false.
Exactly.
It's not going to happen. But your imagination is playing tricks.
Yes, exactly. So I think that if we fall into a place where we start speaking words that have like joy or you know, happiness, or, you know, versus like, oh, hate or sadness, you know, it's almost like that Inside Out movie, right? Like you have all these emotions. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Cartoon is such a cute cartoon. Like I recommend you to watch it. It's a girl and she has so many emotions. They're all in her brain. So there's sadness, happiness, and there's like anxiety, there's depression. But there's this one character, her name is Joy, and she literally controls like all the emotions. You know what I mean? Because when you have joy, when you have love, when you have so much positivity in your life, like, yes, negativity can come, but it's almost like you have like an armor on and you're like, you know what? No, I choose not to listen to you today. I want to choose happy or joy today, because what we speak towards ourselves or what we believe towards ourselves is super important, you know, because you have, like I said, this image to make sure that, you know what, I'm not going to give into those thoughts today. You know what I mean? I think that's how a lot of people fall into addiction.
Yeah. Because
they give into that. And, you know, we all have a will to either say, I choose to be happy today, or I choose to be sad. But if you have to be sad, I mean, at least know that you have so much joy and so much love in this life that it could supersede all the negative emotions. Because we're human. We're going to experience every emotion. But I think I choose love. I choose, you know,
another emotion that I'm curious about, since you're talking about certain feelings, forgiveness.
Yes.
Do you forgive your dad?
I did. Yes.
Really?
I did. Yes. And
like, is it more like, I don't want to be like a devil's advocate, but is it realistic? Like, can you forgive a father who raped you? Like, literally?
Yes, it is. I witnessed it. And, you know, it was actually in 2020, 4 years ago. I was 40. And I was in my prayer time, and I did come across a verse that made it seem like if I didn't forgive, that I would be stuck in that past, you know. And that day I said, you know what, I want to choose love today. And I got up and I was calling all my brothers and sisters, because I got convicted so much from that verse that I said, you know what? I'm going to call my brothers and sisters. I'm going to say, I forgive you. And then the last person I'm going to call is my dad. And I went through all of them because, you know, I did have some resentment, but not really so much anger like I did with my mom and my dad. But so I called them, you know, every call got closer to my dad, right? And then finally I called my dad and he answered. And when he answered and I said, hi, Dad, he immediately said my name. Mind you, I haven't spoken to my dad since I was like 20 years old. And for him to hear my voice and to know who I was like, wow. So I told him, and I said, you know what, Dad, I forgive you, and I release you. And I hope that you come to understand what you've done, and I hope that you come to a place and to understand that, wow, I really did some harm, and I put my children through a lot, and I hope that you come to understand the pain that you've caused on all of us. And I hope that you know, okay, you know what, I messed up. I should probably try to go and talk to my kids so I can give them some closure, you know? So I told him that. And when I tell you, I've never heard my dad cry. He cried on the phone. And he's like, please forgive me. I'm so sorry I did that to you. Ooh, I'm getting emotional. I'm so sorry, because it was such a powerful phone call. I'm so sorry I did that to you. Please forgive me that I led you to drugs and I led you to alcohol. And I've never heard him cry, and I think that released me from what he did. And when I tell you, it took like a ton of bricks. I had a ton of bricks of shame and fear and anxiety, and I felt dirty. And because I realized I need to forgive my dad, it took so much weight off of me that I literally finally walked out of that cage, that the door was open, and I said, you know what? This is when I can start feeling like, or feeling what walking in freedom feels like. And it was so relieving when you forgive someone. A lot of people will be like, I would never, no. But then that hardens your heart to receive love from other people. Then you'll never want to receive love. And forgiveness is such a key to receiving love from other people, even especially like my husband. And when I forgave him, when I tell you the love between my husband and I grew, and the intimacy, and then even the more vulnerability, I got so much more vulnerable. I was more comfortable with sharing, and it just freed me from him, because he still had that, almost like a chokehold on me. He still had that in my life. And I'm like, you know what? I choose not to have this anymore today. And forgiveness is so important. A lot of people will say no, but the reason why I say yes is because, believe it or not, it will free you from that person's hand. Because I felt like I was under his chokehold, under his fear my whole life. And here I am, 40 years old, calling him, you know, when a lot of people are like, oh no, he should have called you. No, I needed to be free from what happened to me. And forgiveness helped me through that, believe it or not. A lot of people would say no, but trust me, when you let go of that person, you would feel so much weight off of you. And my heart began to harden less, and began to receive more love, and began to trust my husband more. You know what I mean? Because I no longer had that weight on me. I no longer felt shame or dirty or alone. I started actually feeling even more safe, because I was vulnerable enough to say, and vulnerable enough to face it. And vulnerable enough to be like, you know what? I can let go of this. I can't hold on to it anymore.
Can I just say that you're a very impressive woman, Alicia?
Oh my gosh. Listen, it was just, I think it's so much, but what I've been through that has allowed me to see who I am today. Yeah.
No, that's you running away from a good compliment.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. My husband tells me that all the time.
No.
Thank you. I like how you're raw and real you were. You're right. You're right.
I'll tell you. Let's bathe in the fact.
Yes.
You know, let's enjoy a fact, not an opinion, because I think a lot of people who are listening would share what I want to say.
Yes.
A lot of people, and you know a lot of them,
yes,
go through so much trauma and pain.
Yeah.
And they succumb to it.
Yes, they do.
It takes so much bravery to be you. Now, I want to finish my thought, because we had an issue. And I want to be very truthful and sincere, so I'm going to think of what I want to say. So yes, I think I don't know. I really don't know. Only you know, not even Jonathan knows. You might think it's just default and you just did what you had to do, but that's also being too modest about it.
Yeah.
What I want to acknowledge is you sitting on a chair where you come from a household that nobody's allowed to talk, where it is controlled by fear, where you decided to be yourself and you found a man that accepts all of you. It's because you accepted you.
Yes. Yeah.
If you never accepted you, you would never get that love.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's so true. Yeah.
So it starts with you. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It takes so much to, and you're an extremely selfless human, and I'll tell you why. When we become victims of our circumstance and we don't share it,
Yeah.
we don't feel good, and we're selfish to a certain degree because it's really scary to share it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you something weird, but I think it's the connection. Do you remember that little Alicia that said to her sister, "Let me take the bottom bunk or the edge of the bed"?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you see what you did when you were that young?
Yes.
You sacrificed yourself
Right.
for your sister.
Yes, I did.
And if we fast forward life,
Yeah.
Alicia, you are sacrificing a private story
Yeah.
for people who need you.
Right. Yeah.
You see, it's the same character.
Right.
It's a beautiful character. The only balance is not to forget Alicia.
Right.
You can be a sacrificial lamb. But it's also a beautiful part of you. You saved, how many, God knows how many times you saved your sister from molestation.
Right.
But you took it.
Yes, I did.
And now you found a selfless husband.
Yeah.
How
Isn't
cool
that
is
beautiful?
that? You know?
Yes, right? Yes.
So I think coming back to you, you choosing to be on camera and talking is not a given. Let's not discount what you deserve. It's a bold move, and you're courageous, and I think you're gonna save a lot of guys and girls.
That is literally my, since my parents left at 14, that has been my dream. To be able to not only myself get out of it, but help others get out of it as well. And, you know, you used the word sacrifice, and I think that I love how you said that, because that has become so much of my character. And then you're telling me that I'm crying because you don't realize that until you're like, wow, I did do that, you know, and then I do so much of that even now. And I think that it goes back to how I even came to the faith, because I realized that love is to be sacrificial. And when you sacrifice for someone else, it just puts you in a position to even become more humble, even to just become more selfless and become more loving, you know. And when you tell me that and you speak those words back to me, that just like makes my heart feel good. And when you said the little girl, obviously, you know, if I could talk to myself when I was little, you know, I would tell her everything's going to be okay. You're going to get through it, you know, and to remain who you are, who you always be, that strong, sacrificial person, you know. And I love that you told me that, because it brings tears to my eyes, because it's like, wow, that's who I always wanted to be. And the more and more I step into that role, and the more and more I step into even the wife role, because as a woman, we have so many roles. We don't just have one role, we have so many roles. But we have to make sure that we step into those roles selflessly, you know. And thank you for complimenting me and saying that to me, bringing tears to my eyes, because I'm just like, wow, I love that. And I love that you shared that. And I could see, it's almost like an outer body experience for me right now. I could see that in me. So I appreciate you saying that.
And isn't it beautiful that somebody who you've never met
right.
sees it in you?
Yes, yeah.
And I think that's just like a testimonial that hopefully this show is just one step of 1,000 ahead, right?
Yes.
Jonathan was telling me that he told you many years ago that you will help a lot of people.
He did, yes.
And I think that's just one of them now.
Yes.
What is, if you know, to everybody watching you, what is your, if you have anything to say to anybody who's watching you, who's feeling lonely or hopeless, or been something similar or something even minor, but they do feel lost, they do feel puzzled. What do you think they should be hearing from Alicia?
You know, I think that if you not give into those negative emotions, because it's so much easier to fall into a negative emotion than really believing the actual truth. A lot of us believe so much lies. Like, again, I said earlier, it's like a false evidence appearing real. It'll appear real, but it's not real. If you're in a lonely state, understand that you can switch your mindset, though you could be in a place where I'm so depressed, I can't get out of it. But understand the lie of that and then replace it with the truth. Replace it without saying, I'm not lonely. I am loved. I am, you know, I will be restored. I will get out of this. You know what I mean? Because a lot of, like I said, it's so much easier to give in to those negative emotions that you really wonder, why is that? And we know, you know, if you have a faith, some form of faith, we know it's like a battle between like good and evil, right? And it's so much easier to fall into those negative, evil emotions versus, you know what? No, I actually want to believe this about myself. You know, there's a lot of people that like wake up and they go in front of the mirror and they're like, I am good. I will be this. You know, those things can work, but you have to, like you said, believe it yourself first.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because we all have like a will to believe, do I decide these negative words or do I decide these positive words? And I think it starts with us, you know, because once we start coming out of that, you're going to start seeing how much life changes around you. When I came out of it, I'm telling you, everything in every room, or even the sky or outside, I could be in the ugliest maybe place, it looks so much brighter because my mind almost did like a reset. To be like, you know what, a factory reset. I will not believe in this negative word. I'm going to believe exactly what my faith is telling me. My Savior is telling me, my husband, you know, I'm going to believe and decide to get up and do something different.
I do think the battle never ends.
No, yeah.
You know, the baggage is there, but it's probably more managed.
Right.
Why am I saying this? Because I want to make a pact with you.
Yes.
So, you're gonna go through some future shitty days.
Yeah.
Some imposter syndrome days.
Oh, yeah.
Some victim days, some jolly days, some ecstatic days. One thing that you probably know, but I want to remind you because I want to kind of pressure you as your new friend.
Yes.
Is always, Alicia, remember how many people need you to be their savior.
Yes.
Not Jonathan was yours.
Right.
Now you are assuming that role. You have some people already in your life and it's going to start to magnify.
Right.
So as much as you remind yourself that it's not only about Alicia, it's about everybody who also needs me, like I needed a Jonathan or.
Right.
So once you think of that, and I think it's easy for you because you're quite a selfless person.
Yes.
You'll realize it doesn't matter how good or bad of a mood I'm in.
Right.
My mission is a bit bigger than me.
Yes, it's, you know, it's like, is my husband here? It's like he's speaking through you or something.
Oh, really?
He always told me, one of the main things, and I'm glad that you brought that up, he always said, Alicia, this is bigger than you. Remember, you don't stand alone. There's thousands of little Alicias needing to face themselves and realize, wow, I'm not alone. And I'm in a place now where I'm like, I would, give me that luggage, let's put it on the bed, I'll help you unpack it, let's go. We got places to go, you know, let's put some newer stuff in there and let's go, I don't know, to Dubai. Let's go to Paris, you know, let's go help free everybody, you know what I mean? So,
write a book.
Oh man, that's another
Why not?
of my dreams, yes.
Because the book stays even when we're gone.
Right.
You know?
Yes, it is, and it's there, and I actually have the title in my mind already.
Don't say it.
I'm not gonna say it. No, I'm not gonna say it.
Well,
but
when you have it, I want a copy.
yes, and I hope you get it. So I'm gonna send you one. I'm not gonna say I hope you get it, but that's one of your mom spoke that over me.
Really?
Yeah, and I started crying. Like it was Farah and your mom on the call, and your mom was like, Alicia, you're gonna see stages bigger than you, and you're gonna write a book.
Nice.
And then your mom was even like, you're my daughter now. I was like, oh my gosh, she was calling me Habibti. I was like, what? I'm like, I love it. I'm in the family now.
Well, that's cool. I don't know. I didn't know if you tell you to write a book also.
Right,
that's cool.
Right. So you guys are so in sync. You are your mother's son, and I love how the relationship that you guys have, because, it continues to give me hope that there is so much more love in the world. When I see other families that are together and they have that love, that gives me hope. It doesn't put me in a place to be like, oh, they have what I don't have. No, I love that for you, because you grew up with a mom that loved you and cared for you. And it makes you even feel more like, wow, I am blessed, or I am lucky, because your mom loves you so much. She talked about all you guys. I love that. And then when she said, you're gonna write a book, I literally started crying.
And you have to know.
Yes.
There's too many people asking.
I know, right? So many. I'm like, I have to know. Even my husband tells me every day. I'm like, okay, Dad. I'm going to get up and do it.
Thank you so much, Alicia.
Thank you.
I really appreciated this.
Yes, thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed it.
I did so much. I love how raw and real you are, and I love the questions that you ask, because it makes you, sometimes you need those questions, because it also puts it in different perspectives for you. It never ends, like you said. It's a daily battle.
Yeah.
And I choose to get up and fight now.
Good.
I don't want to be dormant. I don't want to be complacent.
You were dormant, understandably, for so long.
Of course. Yeah. Understandably.
Okay.
But I don't want to be there anymore. I want to be now where I'm like, let me go unpack with other people.
Thank you.